Hello, darling, and welcome to another episode of Reading with Drew. Ha!
Okay, we're reading Perloo the Bold, baby. And we are on chapter 15, The Felbarts. So, I have a feeling we're going to figure out who these Felbart creatures are. And we're going to find out what happens to Perloo and Lucabara and what the Felbarts are going to do with them. So, let's find out. Lucabara! Perloo cried. Behind us! Lucabara spun about, saw the Felbarts, and instantly dove between two of them, managing to avoid their grasping hands and snarling jaws. Once free, she went bounding off. The Felbarts, caught off guard, fell over themselves in confusion. In the barking, yelping uproar, Perloo eluded them too. He began to hop madly after his friend. Upon reaching a bend, they took it, only to discover they had run into a rock-faced dead end. They whirled. It was too late. The Felbarts were upon them. "Fight for your life!" Lucabara shouted as she squared her feet into a fighting stance. Perloo tried to get ready, but his legs were shaking so much he could not. Barking furiously, lips drawn back to reveal fangs, the Felbarts advanced with bone clubs held aloft, ready to strike. "Surrender or your life," one of them cried. Lucabara prepared herself to kick before she could. Perloo yanked down both ears, the monomer sign of surrender. I give up, he screamed. "Perloo," Lucabara cried, "fight!" Instead, Perloo made a small hop forward, delivering himself into Felbart paws. Working deftly, they flung grass ropes about his ankles to keep him from hopping off again. The next thing Perloo heard was Lucabara calling, "I give up too." Prodded by growls and bared teeth, as well as jabs of bone clubs, the Felbarts herded the Montimers back to the place from which they had fled. As Perloo and Lucabara approached the pack, all Felbar eyes, full of anger, were on them. Teeth gnashed and tails twitched. The old Felbart, who had been playing the drum, rose up. The fur along his back and tail stood on end. His ears lay flat. From within his throat came a deep-throated growl. "You are Montimers," the old Felbart barked through a statement of fact. It was delivered like an accusation. Not knowing what else to do and wanting to show he meant no harm, Perloo reached up and pulled his left ear down. "Well, yes, that's true," he admitted. "And may the sun rise clear over your mountain." The old Felbart grunted despairingly. "Who are you?" he demanded. "What are you doing here?" Perloo stole a glance at Lucabara. She was staring before her with stubborn pride. Perloo was not so sure that was a good response. After all, it was they who had intruded into Felbart territory. "My name is Perloo," he replied. "This is my friend Lucabara. We lost our way in the storm, fell through the snow, and then came upon the entryway to your cave." "It's not just a storm," the old Felbart said. "It's one of the worst blizzards in years. Monomers rarely come here in the best of seasons. You're too cowardly. Why are you wandering about during such conditions?" "Please, may I have the honor of sharing your name?" Perloo requested. The old Felbart cocked his head, his ears flicked. "My name is Wayanto," he said in haughty tones. "Packmaster Wayanto." Perloo and Lucabara gave a start. Just as Monomers used the term granter for the head of their tribe, the Felbarts used packmaster for their leader. The meaning was perfectly clear. They had stumbled into the den of the chief Felbart. Perloo's nose turned purple. He quickly pulled his ear again. "I had no idea," he sputtered, "for a monomer to come into our cave." Wayanto snapped. "It is time, in the fashion you have done, secretly, without requesting permission, to be discovered spying upon us. These are all provocative acts. Have you any idea how we treat spies, in particular monomer spies?" Perloo shook his head. "We use our jaws to snap their necks." Perloo fell faint. Did Grantor Jolane, your cunning leader, send you here to spy on us? Asked Wen Yato. I assure you, Packmaster, Perloo stammered, we weren't spying. We really did lose our way and tumbled through the snow to your den entrance. As for Grantor Jolane, well, just yesterday, she died. Jolane dead? Wayano cried. There was a gasp from the other Felbarts, followed by intense murmuring. A few began to bark. One Felbart lifted her head and howled so mournfully the cave reverberated with her cry. Perloo and Lucabara hardly knew what to make of the hullabaloo. The packmaster stared at Perloo with new ferocity. I suppose, he said, it's that pup of hers, Berwig, who has become the new grantor. The question instantly stilled the other Felbarts. They looked at Perloo and waited for his answer. Worrying his pause, Perloo stole another glance at Lucabara. Instead of returning his look, she said, So Berwig claims. The old Felbart turned on her savagely. Merely claims? What does that mean? He barked. Lucabara looked at him coolly. He's in control of our central tribe burrow, was her answer. The packmaster gazed at her, head cocked to one side. Does Jolane's death, he asked, have anything to do with your being lost? When Lucabara said nothing, Yato turned back to Perloo. Perloo was still uncertain what to say, though clearly the news of Jolane's death had distressed the Felbarts greatly, and even made things worse. He had no idea why. I asked you a question, Wayano pressed. Perloo, fearful of what the Felbarts might do if they learned he was Grantor, said, Packmaster, may I speak to you privately? Though Wenyato studied Perloo's face intently, his ears lifted. Why should I? He demanded. There's something I need to explain, Perloo offered, but I don't think this is the best place to talk. I won't try to escape again, I promise. After a moment's further reflection, during which he scratched hard under his chin with his claw-tipped fingers, the packmaster nodded to one of the Felbarts. The Felbart unbound Perloo's legs. Wayato called out the name of another and told her to follow closely, but to kill Perloo if he attempted to escape. Then began to walk away. Perloo hopped after him. Suddenly, Lucabara called, Perloo, don't forget, there are enemies. Perloo ducked his head, but continued on. As he followed Wayano, Perloo had a chance to observe the cave. It was very large, with corridors leading off in many directions. Any number of Felbarts from positions of safety were staring at him with intense, malevolent glares. Perloo did notice many paintings on the walls, fine renditions of the wars between the monomers and Felbarts. Everything was depicted from a Felbart point of view. To his amazement, he saw images of Magua in them. What's more, she was always on the Felbart side. When Yato bid Perloo enter a small room that had been hewn from the rock, the rough stone walls were bare of ornamentation. There were no furnishings. The air was cold, damp. Partially gnawed bones lay everywhere. The smell of rancid meat made Perloo feel ill. Man. After telling the guard to remain near the entryway, Wayato sat on the floor, his tail behind him twitching. Perloo squatted. The two praised one another in silence. It was the old Felbart who began to speak. Our great teacher Magua once said, if you learn to know your enemy before you hate him, you may learn not to have an enemy. What do you know about Magua? Perloo asked. Why should we know? Why shouldn't we know? Returned Wenyato angrily. I just didn't think you would, that's all, Perloo murmured. You monomers think Felbarts are ignorant beasts, don't you? Let me assure you, monomer, we Felbarts have our laws, culture, and history. We have families and pups. We have art. We have stories. We have our cowards, but we have many more heroes. And abashed, Perloo said, Forgive me, Packmaster. I didn't mean to suggest anything bad about Felbarts. It's just that, well, as Magua said, to see the world with the eyes of others is to stand atop a new mountain. The packmaster gave a growl of appreciation. You know Magwat. She is our great teacher, too, Perloo offered. Then you are wiser than I thought, returned the packmaster, making a slight curl of his upper lip that Perloo interpreted as a hint of a smile. You give me some hope, but again I must ask you, why have you come here? My friend and I were lost in the storm. That's the easy truth, the packmaster returned. You know as well as I do, the real question is, why were you wandering? I suspect it has something to do with, if what you say is true, the death of Grantor Jolene. As quickly as he could, Perloo told Wanyado that all that had happened from the moment Lucabara summoned him to their escape from the Central Tribe burrow. When he was done, Wanyado studied Perloo so intently the monomer felt he was being measured. At last, the packmaster said, Then it is your belief, Perloo, that you are the new monomer grantor. I think so. And it was nothing you expected? Oh no, not at all. Are you pleased with your new position? I wish Jolene had chosen someone else. Wayado's face softened. He licked his nose, then he nodded. It is, as Magwat said, you are never more alone than when you are followed by many. Regardless, will you accept the title? Perloo shrugged. I don't want to, but... Perloo, have you any proof of your story other than your words? The packmaster asked. Not really. Lucabara has only half of Jolene's proclamation. And the other half? Berwig has it. Wanyado closed his large eyes to think out a decision, during which he scratched himself vigorously behind the ear. At last he opened his eyes. Before I tell you whether or not I believe you, he began, there is something you must know first. No doubt you observed that we are preparing for war. I did. Do you know why or against whom? No. Well then, Grantor Perloo, if that's who you are, please know, said Wanyado, as he pointed a finger right at Perloo, that we are preparing for war against you. Okay. Yes. That was a good chapter. I don't have the greatest. I was trying to do like a Native American voice. I felt like that kind of fit, but I'm trying not to be racist. But I don't think it's racist, right? I don't know. I felt like it fit the Felbarts. Not trying to step on any toes, okay? But no, that was good chapter. Felbarts are preparing for war. And that's what the title of the next chapter is. War! What is it gonna fall? Okay. So yeah, I think just telling the main guy that he's the grantor was really risky. Because they could just like kill him, but then they'll have to deal with Berwig. So Wanyado, on his part, he needs to be very careful too, because if he did kill Perloo, then all the monomers would hate them and want to go to war. So it's getting intense. I don't know if I can take it. But we'll see if Perloo can talk his way out of it. All right. Enough being an idiot. I hope everyone has an awesome Friday. And tune in every Monday and Thursday. I'll be posting a new chapter. So check it out. Continue to enjoy the story with me. Seems like we're about halfway in the book. Just about. So I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. And I hope you have a good day. All right. See ya.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. You have to.